Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting Radio, your station for empowerment, music, and talk radio. EB Radio presents Empower Hour with Jaresha. A show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The Empower Hour with Jaresha begins now.
Ever wonder if you're heading in the right direction? Asking for guidance isn't something to be afraid of. At Empower on Purpose, we specialize in giving expert advice, support, mentorship, training, and coaching. We're success and leadership coaches trained to help with life's biggest choices. Our self-reflection sessions will empower you for success in all areas of your life so you can sleep better at night. Our strategies will help you focus and be more intentional with your success. Our coaching and training will help you become a better version of yourself to be, do, and have all the things you want in your life. Empower on Purpose, because we recognize the power and greatness within you and empower you to be intentional and be empowered to live each day with purpose. Visit www.empoweronpurpose.com.
Hello and welcome to Empower Hour with Jaresha. I am your host, Jaresha Moore-Smith, and a little bit about myself. I am a best-selling author with over 19 years of combined experience in finance, healthcare, business management, development, education, and sales, CEO and founder of Empower on Purpose, LLC, where we provide leadership training and personal and professional coaching and consulting services, executive director and certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, and owner of Envision Broadcasting radio station. So if this is your first time tuning in, I am so happy that you are tuning into the show. I want you to know that I believe you have the power to be great, to have great, and to do great. You just have to be willing to unleash your greatness and take action. So on this show, I speak with leaders, motivators, and influencers who want to share their stories and journeys to empower the world for growth and success. And every week, we take a look at an empowerment quote that we are pondering and how it can empower us for success. So this week, I hope you're ready, because this week's quote is, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." Now, I absolutely love this quote by Winston Churchill. I think it is so very powerful, and it truly speaks to me, and here's why. I truly believe in life we will always have challenges and difficulties, but guess what? There are always lessons and opportunities that come from those challenges and difficulties. I can remember when I had launched my coaching business and actually started the radio station, and I will tell you, it wasn't easy. And as a matter of fact, there were all kinds of lessons and things I had to research and study and take classes and have mentors and coaches, and I looked at it as an opportunity for growth. I knew in the end it would be such a great reward. And I think about, a really great friend of mine who just recently made a decision to leave the corporate world to start her own business in the midst, of course, of a pandemic. She could have looked at, all of the cards that were stacked against her and said, this is going to be too difficult. What if I fail? What if no one supports me? And what if no one wants to purchase items from my boutique? But no, she said, at every obstacle, there's always going to be some kind of challenge. At every step of the way, there's going to be some kind of obstacle or some kind of challenge. And it's always an opportunity for you to get stronger, for you to get better, and for you to get bigger. I like to think that we all can learn from this. When it comes down to life and, some of those difficulties, we know that we all have those difficulties that's going to be, that's going on in life right at this moment. But you have to begin to see those opportunities that are waiting for you to tap into it. You know, I will tell you what I know, and I know this about everyone that's out there listening right now. You are absolutely amazing, and you are created for greatness. So when are you going to understand the greatness that is within you and begin to live in your purpose and live in your greatness? And speaking of great, let me tell you all that I have an amazing, a great and amazing guest this evening. Debra Sunderland is here to share her story and her journey this evening to empower you all over the world. I'm so excited that you are here and you have come to share. So please, Debra, please start by telling us a little bit more about, who Debra is. Please tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. So I have tears. Like, I love your heart. I love your energy. I love your love for everyone in the world. I feel that and I believe that. So who am I? I just echo what you're saying, and I just want to share that I believe we all are made and created perfectly like no one else to live at such a time as this right now, given all that's going on. And it's not an accident and that we have the pandemic and that we're living here during this time. It is perfect. You are perfect, all you listeners, right where you are, with your struggles, with your uncertainties, with your fears, with all that comes. You are perfect, and you are loved, and you are beautiful. And I had to come to know that through a lot of, I would say, unloving ways as a child, but I believe everything is for us. Just as you had shared earlier, Teresa, that everything is for us. It's the same with Winston Churchill. And I am a firm believer that what I think, is what I will create. And I'm always learning. I'm a learner. That's who I am. I'm a learner. I think every opportunity in life is about learning. As long as I live, I will be learning. And my way of learning is every time I get a result I don't want, or I'm not creating what I do want in my heart, my desire, then I wonder, where was I not awake to myself? Where was I not awake to listening and using my emotional intelligence, my body intelligence, and just doing it because I had to, because fear was there. And my belief is that we're all called to rejoice. Not just have joy, but to have it over and over and over again, because God says rejoice. And the only way we can do that is to allow love to come. This is what I'm learning for myself, love to be present in the fear. Because what I had learned my whole life as a young one, I grew up in a very, very scary, traumatic childhood, and I had fear in my belly all the time, so much so that I had stomach issues when I was young. I had migraine headaches that took me out when I was 11 years old because there was so much trauma. I didn't know what to do with the fear in my body. It was kept getting stored, and I tried to be the best I could outside of my home. I tried to get success at school by being the best student, or being the violinist and being first chair, or being the best track runner. And then I did that when I went to work, trying to be the best salesperson, yada, yada, yada. And that's not it. It's not what we do. It's who we are becoming when our parents might not know how to love us, even though they mean the best. How do we love all people, regardless of what they're going through, their fear? Because I believe only fear and love exists, right? And I believe God says that, right? That more than anything, it's fear not. But that's one thing, is to say fear not. Well, how do I really not fear? It's, can I allow a little more capacity for love to show up when I'm scared? Can I just allow a little more to meet me here? And can I go forward with both of them together? Because I know eventually love is going to cover over that fear. But even taking the step is scary. So that's okay. So I've learned you just keep stepping forward, and love will welcome you. And so my want for people is to know that all the feelings they have are normal. They're for us. They're for our learning. And that's what I've been learning. I've just been learning about who am I? Who am I made to be? Who am I?
Yes, I love that. That is so good. That is so good. You said so many wonderful and amazing things. Absolutely. I love it. Because and I have to go back to how you mentioned the fact that we, of course, we're still in this pandemic, and there's so much going on in the world, and with fear, and I say fear and repeat it over and over because it is still very present, even prior to the pandemic. Fear stopped so many of us from moving forward, from being who I truly feel like we're called to be. But, I just, so I really, really, I love that. I love the fact of, some of the amazing nuggets that you have mentioned. Please tell us more, about, because I know that you coach leaders to empower and create a collaborative and, vibrant, responsible, and joy-filled culture. Tell us more about you as as a coach and more of how you're really empowering others.
Okay, thank you. I think if I could back up and say how I came to my purpose and then share that, is that all right if I back up?
Oh, yeah. Oh, please. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
So I think like most of us, we are taught since we're little when we go off to school, or maybe even unconsciously by our parents, like what success is. Doing things, getting a check mark, getting a grade, getting to the next level, going off to college, working for a certain corporation, marrying a certain person, having a certain car, living in a certain neighborhood, blah, blah, right? All these things that we are told, but we don't stop to think about them. We don't question what we're being told many of the times, and we certainly don't question our thinking because we have 65,000 thoughts in a day, and 98% of the time we're not even conscious to ourselves. We're in the future or the past, so we miss 65 thoughts mostly, and so we're riding on fearful thoughts most of our life. So with that drive that we grew up in, we're used to it. We're comfortable with fear because we keep pushing forward and thinking if I just push a little more, then I'll have enough and I won't have that fear. But what happens, it's like a temporary thing, I found, that you might have success, but it's not long-lasting, sustainable, and fulfilling. And so as I worked my way up in all things, I decided to race my bike at age 42, which cyclists typically don't start racing their bike at that age, but I always had the thought in my head, I'm never going to fail. I don't know how I always had that, but that's how I think how big my fear was, is that I pushed myself. And so I had an accident. It's coming up on 8 years ago, June 1st, racing my bike. I was 2 out of 998 women in the United States at that point. And I tell you that not to brag, but to tell you how crazy my motivation was. And we can be motivated, what I found the hard way or the beautiful way, is we can be motivated by fear or we can be motivated by love. And they're two very different energies, two very different motivations, two very different results. So as I was racing on June 1st, 2013 in Glencoe, a suburb of Chicago, I was thinking, I'm going to win. I feel great. This is my B race, but I'm feeling really great. I'm going to win. And little did I know, at our third last lap, I was going to get bumped by another cyclist and plummet to the ground, where I cracked open my skull. My brain bounced from the back of my head to the front of my head. I shattered 9 ribs, punctured my lung, separated my shoulder, and started convulsing immediately. I don't remember any of this. I was raced to a Trauma One hospital in near Northwestern, and I was put in a coma because my brain was swelling, and my family was called, and they said, we don't think she's going to live. You need to get here now. So a couple of things. Obviously, I'm here. A couple of things that I want to celebrate is our thinking is really important, and I really believe, of course, God sustained me and gave me my life back for a very important reason, which I'll share with you in a minute. And I believe that my body was so used to pushing and striving that it knew to not give up unconsciously, even though I was in a coma. And I believe, again, according to our thinking, even when we're asleep, I was in a coma, but most of us are asleep all the time. We lose our phone, we lose our keys, or we try to sleep. We still have thoughts going on in our head. We still have thoughts. And they create our behaviors, and we're not aware of it. So I believe partially to all my thinking about win, 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 while I was in that coma, I wasn't going to die. And God said, okay. So when I finally was released from the hospital after I was in there for a month, the doctor, the neurologist said it's going to take you 3 years for your brain, most likely, to heal because it's severely injured. And I was going to have to go to therapy 3 to 4 times a week to learn to walk, talk, and cut my food again. I told him, I don't remember if I said hell no, it won't, but I kind of felt like that's what I said because I was rejecting that. And I said, no, it will not take me that long. And within 8 months, I was back on my bike, and my coach was like, I can't believe you're exactly where you were before. Yeah. Now, this is the power of thinking, right? The power of what we choose to dwell on is what we create, but also what we don't dwell on, we also create. But think about how powerful we can be if we choose what we most love, what excites us, what we're passionate about, and what we want to believe. That doctor was telling me it's going to take that long, and I said, no, it's not. That's not for me. This is what I'm going to do. And I did pretty much the opposite of what they told me to do in order to heal. So I just want to say the power of choosing, but we have to be awake to it, not in a coma like I was, but we have to really be conscious, right? And I always liken that to God telling us, take every thought captive. Take every thought captive. Why? Because if not, fear is going to take over. The thought of fear will take over. So we must notice, what am I believing? That brings my emotions, that brings my behavior, that brings my results. Because we can never change our results, and we can't even change our behavior until we start to change our thinking and our emotions. So when I was finally able to drive my car again, my beautiful children were going to the city of Chicago, and we lived in a more affluent town. And I say that because these lovely people really didn't lack anything but the world. But they had everything in the world and more that they could give them. And my son was getting on the train, a 7:02 train in the morning, and my daughter was 11, being dropped off at the middle school. She sees her 16-year-old brother getting on the train with all these beautiful workers getting on the train to go to work. And as we pulled away from the train, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget how I felt. I heard her little voice from the back seat say, Mama, why does everyone look so unhappy getting on the train, going to work? And my heart felt like it was stabbed. And it felt so painful and heavy, and all I could do was agree with her. But I knew there was something there. There was something I couldn't ignore from that comment. So I dropped her off. I went home, and maybe 15 minutes later, I was on my bike 8 months after my accident, just about to go over the Somme Railroad tracks, and my purpose hit me, and this is what I heard. Thank God I almost died doing something I love doing, and I was awesome at it. These dear precious people are dying a slow death every day, doing something they don't most want to do because they think they have to do it, they're doing it, and they don't even realize they're dying a slow death. I am here to wake them up. That was the answer I got. So I was like, okay, cool. Now I know my purpose. This is really exciting. But now what? Okay, I got
Wow.
This is the beauty. When we are called, when we are awake to our purpose, and I mean our head, our heart, our gut, whole yes, head, heart, and gut, meaning emotional intelligence, body intelligence, and IQ. We have a whole yes, and that is a learning because most of us live partial yeses, a should or a maybe or I have to yeses, and that's not a whole yes. I'm talking about the whole yes where your body wants to move forward and you're like, absolutely, I'm 100%, I'm in. That kind of whole yes. I said, okay, well, now what do? I know where I'm supposed to be, but because I had that whole yes, I was given the people to coach me, to share with me their teaching, to share their learnings, and I fell upon conscious leadership, which is kind of funny because I was unconscious my whole life pretty much and placed in a coma to be unconscious. And here I am to wake up and to learn consciousness and to share consciousness with the world.
Yes.
So my tools have been, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say I absolutely love it. So, yes, please continue. Your tools.
Yeah, so I've learned, so I trained, I practiced it. It's not like you train and you go to school. I learned to practice coming back to presence, looking at how I was creating the results I didn't want or the ones I wanted and wasn't getting. I learned and still learn to be present. So we're either in the future or the past 98% of the time. And when we're in the future, we're in anxiety because we don't know what's going to happen in the small part of our brain, the amygdala. The ego wants to know what's going to happen, and it doesn't know, so it gets anxious. Or we're in the past, and we're beating ourselves up, or we have regret, or we wish something, right? We're not present to appreciating what is. We're not present most of the time to appreciating what is. So the practice is, okay, how do I come back to presence? So I learned, because of my anxiety my whole life, the biggest change in my life that I teach people right now, I'll tell you one of the big tools, is breathing. I know it sounds silly because don't we all breathe? But what I had learned in this process of healing, not just my physical ailments, but my emotional ailments, was that when you breathe from your belly, from like pretty much your sacrum, as far down as you can start your breathing, and allow your belly to expand and your chest to be filled with air all the way up through your nostrils, and then breathing even more slowly all the way out. And you make that a practice when you're not anxious or triggered. You remember, oh, I need to breathe when I'm triggered, because what happens when we get triggered, this is true for all of us, our muscles are in a defense. When we're triggered, your brain, the ego, amygdala, I'll use those intermittently, it's only caring about protecting us. So we want to thank the ego, the amygdala, for wanting us to be safe. So as soon as it senses danger, and for us as Americans living in 2021, our fear is not the same fear we used to have years ago. Our fear is, I'm not going to have enough money, or is my son going to be able to go to school tomorrow, or is he going to be on the screen and being locked? Those are the fears that we have. So they still trigger us, and so what happens is our body, the muscles start to tighten, really tight to protect us, and we don't have capacity to even expand our lungs the whole way when we're in that state. And so when we are like that, we actually, this is all science now, shows that our brain isn't getting fully oxygenated. And when we're not fully oxygenated, guess what kind of decisions we're making when we're in the fear state? Half-baked decisions that aren't going to turn out very well. So my first line of teaching people is, would you just learn to breathe? Practice breathing all the time. So I give them breathing tips. Breathing, like you guys probably already know, like the Navy SEALs, they've got to be present, right? Because anything could happen to them at any moment. They got to be here and now. So one of them, if you haven't heard, is, can I just do a 4x4x4 breathing? Breathing in for a count of 4, slow and deep. when you get to the top of your capacity of breathing, count for 4. You can actually, in your mind, look for the number in front of you, picture it in front of you, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then releasing for an even slower exhale for a count of 4. And making that a practice, even like morning, lunchtime, and night, making it a dedicated practice. And then start to learn when you're even driving your car. You're holding onto your steering wheel, gripping because someone cut you off, or someone's going too slow, or right. And then we just notice like we don't breathe all the way most of the time. So start to notice your breath is the first tool. And then the second tool is, I shared before, is let's look at the result. If you're not getting the result you want, let's go back to, how did you make this decision? Was it from fear or love? And it will be out of fear, because when we are out of fear, we always get what we don't want. Because we're at defense. Like I just said, we're at defense. So we're not hearing each other. So marriages suffer because they're not able to hear each other. Why are they not able to hear each other? Because they're closed. Their minds are closed. Their bodies are closed. Their hearts are closed. They're at defense. And that's a natural state for most of us. But we can get out of that. Why do we not have companies that are engaged? Because everyone's trying to prove the better answer or the right way, and they don't want to hear each other. So we have siloed companies, and we're working trying to get to the same result, but we're all doing it differently, and then we get together, and then we still don't hear each other. So we waste so much energy, so much time trying to get to these results, but they're half-baked, and they're definitely not collaborative. And 75% of engagement, 75% of employees, I just heard this because I'm taking an inner MBA program right now at NYU, 75% of people are not engaged at work right now, 75%. These companies, these people are suffering. They're suffering. And I say suffering because when we have fear, guys, we're suffering. We're not meant for fear. We're allowed for it to come through us. When we're open and curious about when fear's there, fear from an open, curious state, this is what I teach my people. So we can be from a closed state, like I just said, defensive, not wanting to hear, not wanting to share. I'm right. Now, we don't say I'm right, but we act like we're right. Oh, it's got to happen this way. Or no, this is the better way. Or you're wrong, I'm right. This is what we got to do. Or we even do it to ourselves. Why did I do that again? We beat ourselves up. Meaning, I was wrong and I should be better. This is the right way. We do this all the time to ourselves. So one way to really shift out of that is to, again, go to your breathing when you know you're defensive because you know you're not. And then just be like, can I get curious here? And I love using the sound, This is interesting that I find myself triggered. This is interesting that I'm responding this way. What can I learn about myself right now? This is really interesting that I'm called to be in this situation. Because as soon as we do the we get curious, and guess what? Our defenses come down. We start to open ourselves up to hearing ourselves and someone else.
Absolutely.
So once we're in that space of being curious, we can look at ourselves and say, with that result that I wasn't getting, and I know I must have been below the line, I call it under fear, what was I telling myself? Can I look at what I was telling myself? And I give my people a list of thoughts they might have been having. Oh, I should have done this. Why didn't they do that? Oh, they don't get this. A lot of blame things, like a lot of blame to self and others or the situation. Or, oh, I can't believe it's raining, so I'm late to work. Like not taking responsibility at all, blaming the situation. So they look and see what they're telling themselves unconsciously, and then they look and say, like, how was I feeling when I had that thought in my head? Oh, I felt frustrated because I couldn't get that person to change and get him to do what I wanted, right, or whatever the situation is. And then they look at, what was my behavior and my belief? What has my belief become unconsciously around this person or this situation? Wow. And then the big shift happens. Can I accept myself right here, right now, for just getting triggered like everyone else? It's just my ego, my amygdala, just trying to keep me safe. Can I accept myself right now? And can I appreciate myself for just noticing that I have choice of how I want to move forward. I might not move forward, but at least I'm awake to my pattern here that's not serving me well anymore. Can I appreciate that?
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Go ahead. Were you going to say something else?
Oh, I was just going to say, so once we get to that point of openness, right, like you can tell when you're defensive and you can tell when you're open. You can feel it in your body. You can feel it in your heart. And once you know, you realize, yeah, I'm really curious to learn about myself in this pattern, then I give them tools to look at what are maybe the opposite thoughts that you could have. And I say opposite because our mind is negatively biased when we're not awake. It's a fear-based brain. That's why God says, take every thought captive, because we're going down a rabbit hole in fear. And so if we look at that and we switch it to the opposite, and how might it be true, and start to reprogram our thinking. This is neuroplasticity, which I learned being injured, and even before that, I can rewire my thinking. Gray matter grows, and science shows the more we practice switching our thinking and choosing, it actually grows our gray matter, and we can eventually rewire an automatic, open, and curious mind the more we practice it, where it will give us more peace, more trust, and more love for ourselves and those around us.
Wow.
What are you thinking?
That's so good. It's so good because, I mean, you have truly shared so many amazing nuggets, so many insights. And even from, when you started in sharing your testimony and how powerful that is. And I know that there is someone out there that needs to hear that. And, to be able to push them forward, for them to be able to continue to, to push forward, be determined, and just to continue to drive. And then just to kind of go back a little bit from where you had mentioned how you had almost like an aha moment and seeing the people on the train with being unhappy, and how there's so many of us that are in this state. And, even now with the fear from the pandemic and everything else, the fear is driving. And just hearing you break down some of the tools that, that you use, with your clients. Truly amazing, truly amazing. One of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking was how, and this is kind of going back to how you mentioned how there's so many people that's just having that slow death every single day because of them being unhappy in the space, whether it's a job or whatever it may be, being unhappy with wherever they're at. And I heard something, I want to say maybe it was a couple of days ago. There was a speaker I was listening to, actually John Maxwell, and he was talking to one of the coaches, and this really just kind of grabbed my attention. He said, your career is what you are paid for. Your calling is what you are made for. And I was like, oh, my goodness, that is just so amazing. You know how you hear those moments, and I'll tell you that throughout our conversation so far, it's been so many aha moments that I know that the listeners will definitely want to hear, need to hear, and even, your take and your insight on fear. My goodness. So I do have another question for you, which is,
okay.
So what inspires, or what makes you feel inspired or feel like you're being your best self?
Appreciating my noticing, appreciating how far I've come, and just taking responsibility around my thinking, appreciating the people I have in the now moment, meaning when I work with CEOs, business owners, leaders for years who have a wake up every time we're together, every time something comes up that they didn't see before. That inspires me to keep going, because it's like peeling back the onion. So They inspire me. I learn with them. Like, I haven't mastered this. I'm mastering it, but have I mastered it? No. It's something I will do the rest of my life. So what inspires me is that choice is always available, that no one can take my thoughts away. No one can change my feelings. No one can change my life except for me. And that inspires me. That inspires me that if I want to create something and I have a whole yes, I wait for that. I wait for what am I being called to, and knowing that it will surely be shown to me. And surely it will be provided for, because of my life since I was a child till now. I have come very far, and I know I have much further to go.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What an amazing journey. It's, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's, those obstacles, those challenges that we, those storms that we go through, and when we're in the midst of it, it's like, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard to see us coming out of it. But I truly, have to go back to what you said, is it all is about, your thought process and the power of, our thoughts. Because if you believe you can get through it, I truly believe also that, God is there with us to pull us out, to get us through those times. But at the end of the day, we have to feel like we can get through those moments, get through those times. And that made me think also about the fact that belief drives behavior. So whether we believe we can get through it or not, guess what? That's what's going to happen. If we believe we can't, then we won't. If we believe we can, then we will continue to push forward. So that's truly, truly amazing. So if you could give one piece of advice to the listeners on how they could improve their own, or actually empower their own growth and success journey, what would that be?
Take time to yourself and be still. Just be still, because we are so busy. And even sitting still is frightening for most of us, because we think, what? I can't sit still. But it's in the being still, right? And I'm hoping that it won't take you being still to be in a coma like I was. To hear what's here for you now. It's already in you. You have the answers. God has put those answers for you. The desires of your heart is not an accident. God put those desires in everyone's heart. Why? Because he wants us to have joy doing it. And he's going to fulfill and align all of it. So trust what's in your heart and step forward, even if you don't know. Again, what I said before, let fear accompany love as you step into the unknown. But first, be still. Be still, take time. If you're struggling, that's great, because when we are about to change into something new, the ego doesn't like change. The amygdala, the ego mind, is fearful of the unknown. So it's going to pull you back over and over and over again. When you get to the edge of jumping into your calling, when you're right at that edge and a lot of stuff is happening, and you might even be flipping out, that's because you're at the edge and you're about to jump over into your genius. You've moved from your excellence of being great at many things, but you aren't in your genius. And taking a leap into genius is really that. It is a leap. And it's into the unknown. And it is scary because you don't know. But if your heart and your mind and your body says yes, trust that, because it's not an accident that that's in you. Not everyone has the same desires, and coupled with the same purpose, skills, passions as you do. So trust yourself and honor yourself. Don't say, oh, well, I don't know, or I'm not. Comparing yourself to someone else. Stop that, because that doesn't serve you. That doesn't serve you. Fill yourself with things that nourish you. Fill yourself, shut off the media, stay away from the media. I haven't listened to the news since 2001, since 9/11. I have not listened to the news. Because I said, you know what? We've been killing each other since the beginning of time. Why do I need to know this is going on right now? Do I care about everyone? Absolutely. My right. What have I been? What's the greatest commandment? What are we supposed to do? Love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love our neighbor as we love ourselves. The most unloving thing we can do is listen to fearful things. To ourselves, to the people in our world, and of course God. God doesn't want us fearful. So for me, I'm like, I don't even know this. So my other toss is notice where you're focusing your mind. Notice the time that you spend there. Notice how you feel after you spend your time there listening. Is it nourishing you or is it depleting you?
That's good. That's good. And I say that because it wasn't 2001, but I'll tell you during this whole pandemic, 2011, 2001. But with this whole pandemic, I'll tell you that, my goodness, the media, just every time you turned around, again, nothing but negative, nothing but fear. So, yeah, I had many conversations with others and, really encouraging them not to have, CNN and all these other apps kind of going off on their phone and tuning into all of the reports because, that anxiety would kick in, that fear, and then it, turned into depression and all of that. So I definitely agree with you on, with that 100%. And then I love how you say if your heart, if your mind, if your body says yes, we have to be willing to trust ourselves and, really trust your intuition. And I think at times we don't have that strong yes, even when it comes down to, some of those things we waver, back and forth. So that's really good. I really love that advice that you shared. So I thank you so much for sharing that amazing advice.
You're so welcome.
Absolutely.
You're so welcome.
Absolutely.
And laugh a lot. You guys laugh because we take things so seriously. And after almost dying, right? And after almost dying, that's serious there. But you know what? Most of the time we're not, God willing, we're not about to die. So let's make it a little lighter, because we take it as life or death a lot.
Yes, laugh, celebrate yourself.
Laugh.
It. Yes, we have to do that every opportunity that we get. I absolutely love
that.
That's right. Yes. So I just, I thank you so much for, sharing your amazing story and journey. Please take the time to share with the listeners on how they can stay connected to you and support your efforts.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, guys, I would love if you have any questions or just want to hop on a call with me for 15 minutes, please reach out. You can reach me. My website is www.Sunderland. It's S as in Sam, U-N, D as in dog, ERLAND.com. Sunderlandcoaching.com. Sorry about that. Sunderlandcoaching.com. Not Sutherland with a TH, but UNDER. And then they can reach me at Debra, DEBRA, no H, DEBRA, at sunderlandcoaching.com for my email. And then I also have a quiz. It's a very short quiz, but it helps you start to see how are you living, what are you believing, and it's called Beyond Doing, so 2 Ds, beyonddoingquiz.com. Probably take you 3 minutes to do the quiz. That will connect you to me as well. and just reach out. Let me know that you heard our conversation, and anywhere that we can come together around creating more joy and supporting each other, I would just love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been truly amazing, Debra. It's always a pleasure and, being to converse with you, and you always share so many amazing nuggets. I almost feel like I could have said at the beginning that people really need to have a notebook when they're listening, because you are going to share some amazing nuggets. So I definitely thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And to our listeners,
you are so welcome.
Yes. So if you are interested in starting your own show, or perhaps being a guest on the show to share your amazing story and journey to equip, encourage, or empower others for growth and success, please email envisionb@empoweronpurpose.com. Please tune in next Wednesday, where you will hear an amazing story from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, stay safe and be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Hour with Jaresha, where Jaresha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journey in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to your best self. Follow Jaresha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jaresha Moore, and visit www.empoweronpurpose.com. Remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.